Time then to enter Alex Crook's transfer notebook. Good afternoon, Crookie.
Boys, we good?
Yeah, we're
Very
not
good,
too
thank you.
bad.
Yeah.
This is an interest with Andy. You've got us chatting off air, myself and Andy, both saying how we thought Lisandro Martinez looked really good under Carrick last season, but you say his days could be numbered at United, but mainly around his fitness, Crookie.
Yeah, he's a lot of injuries.
Yeah, I think that's the main concern. I make you right. I think when he's fully fit, he goes straight into the team, certainly based on that wretched defensive performance that Manchester United produced at Hull at the weekend, when obviously he was watching from the bench because he'd gone all the way to the final in the World Cup. Wouldn't surprise me if he does start against Ipswich on Sunday. I'll be there for talkSPORT and hoping from a United perspective for wholesale changes really to the team that started at the MKM. He's got a year left on his contract. There is an option in that contract that I think United will take up to basically extend the deal until 2028. But I do think he's going to have to prove his fitness this season. I've worked it out, and since he came to the club around about 4 years ago, he misses on average up to 20 Premier League games a season. And obviously that is too many. So no doubts about his quality, but I think the hierarchy have got a little bit of doubt about his ability to stay fit. And it could be an interesting summer this time next year when it comes to that United back line. A lot of them have been there for a while. Harry Maguire's contract will be up then. Luke Shaw's contract coming to an end as well. What they seem to do in Ineos, if you look at the last couple of summers, last summer it was all about the attack. They brought in Cunha and Mbumo and Šeško. This summer they've reinforced the midfield with the additions of Tielemans, Santos and now Baleba. That deal could be announced as early as today. You'd think the defence is the next area of the team that needs strengthening. I would argue it needs strengthening in the next week of the window, but I'm not entirely convinced.
It must be.
I know all summer you coveted Adam Wharton, and so do I for Chelsea, and so do Palace fans who love him.
So do a lot of people.
Yeah, he's a terrific player. I'm surprised they didn't, for me, it would have been a better bet than Baleba, but, who am I to say that?
Where are we at with Wharton? Do you see him at Palace next Tuesday?
He seems to be the odd one out, doesn't he? When you look at the midfielders that have changed hands for big money, kick-started with Elliot Anderson, that moved to Man City, Tonali for £100 million to Spurs, Baleba for around about 70 million. I think it's slightly more than that with the add-ons, but certainly Wharton, I think, would command more of an Elliot Anderson type fee. I think Palace put him in that bracket, and that's probably why Manchester United and other clubs have decided not to follow up their interest. But you'd think if he has another strong season at Palace, Wharton, then surely it's a matter of time. But at the moment, I would expect him to stay.
And Alex Scott as well?
Same. Chelsea have had a 64 million offer rejected. That
Three bids, I think they've put in, haven't they?
Well, I only know of this one of 64 million. I know that was dismissed out of hand.
That's not enough, is it?
Well, I think there was an agent's play going on there whereby clubs were being briefed that Bournemouth would sell him for around 60 million quid. That was never Bill Foley's intention. Again, they look at Elliot Anderson, they look at Tonali, and they think Scott should be going for a similar sort of price tag. So I was down there last week. Marco Rosa was confident of keeping him. Speaking to people behind the scenes, that they didn't see that scenario changing. But we are anticipating that Manchester City are going to make a formal bid for Enzo Fernandez. If that happens and he makes his move to the Etihad, then do Chelsea come back in and try their luck again with Scott between now and next Tuesday? I certainly wouldn't rule it out.
Do you think Chelsea will sell Fernandez if they haven't got a replacement? I can't see it. I think they will turn. If they must be trying. I mean, we all know these things going on in the background. Yeah. And if they feel they can't find anybody, I don't think they'll let him go.
Well, is he in a bit of a difficult situation that they kind of want him out? Well, I wonder what his attitude is to staying, Crookie.
Well, yeah, I'd like to get his attitude. I'm sure we will get an interview from him somewhere down the line. He's not afraid of speaking his mind, certainly in his native tongue. The impression I've always got is that Chelsea aren't desperate to sell Enzo Fernandez, but they have a valuation. That is the business model. And if that valuation is met, then they would be willing to do a player trade. But you're right, there doesn't seem to be an obvious replacement there, does there? Caicedo obviously started on the bench last night. Lavia did okay, but I think there's still doubts about his fitness. So I think they would need someone to come in. But do they strengthen in that area of the team, or do they use the money elsewhere? Because there's just been a few whispers this lunchtime that it's not just Arsenal. Keep an eye on the Julian Alvarez situation. Maybe Chelsea as well.
Oh, interesting.
No, that's not going to happen. The one area they don't need to strengthen is that.
Well, you can never have too many good players.
Oh, you can have a goalkeeper. That might help.
Yeah. So, Jean-Philippe Matata, there we saw him play against Everton the other day, and you saw maybe he's put all his differences behind him about trying to get out of his contract. But Villa showing an interest.
Yeah, this one's moved on actually since even I wrote the notebook this morning. A bid's gone in from Aston Villa. It was immediately rejected. I'm told it was between 20 and 25 million pounds, so well short of what Crystal Palace would want to sell Mateta for. Manchester United and Tottenham have been offered Mateta. I'm not sure how hot their interest is at the moment, but Villa need someone, don't they? Because Ollie Watkins does look like he's off to Saudi Arabia. I know there's interest in Nicholas Jackson and Rafael Leao as well, but Mateta, not the greatest striker in the world. He misses a lot of chances, but he's got a decent goal record in the Premier League. So I think if Villa can up their offer, then this is going to be one to keep an eye on in the next week of the window as well. And you're right, there's a bit of an issue going on with Palace. He's complained to both FIFA and the Premier League. It's been dismissed by both those organisations that the last year of his contract should be invalid. But that tells me the player wants to move.
Now, I was going to say, because Villa do want Jackson. You mentioned him there. And there's this mad situation, isn't there, that they have to wait, Chelsea and Villa, 45 days.
Yeah. If you do business.
Otherwise, it's deemed a swap deal. I don't get that. That's bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah, that's under UEFA financial rules. Because Morgan Rogers went to Villa from Chelsea, if another player goes the other way on a permanent deal within that 45-day period, you say it is regarded as a swap deal, and obviously that affects the balance sheets of both clubs potentially. We Googled this, actually. We put it into AI. It was 33 days on Sunday from when Morgan Rogers was announced as a Chelsea player.
Yeah, right.
Now, there is a chance the paperwork went in before that, but either way, that's cutting it a bit fine, isn't it, for the 45 days?
That's right.
So is that only an issue if you're two teams that are in UEFA competitions at the time, or is that just a general rule across the board?
Well, obviously, Aston Villa are the ones who are in UEFA competition.
Oh, we have Chelsea aren't, of course,
this season. But actually, a lot of Villa's issues, we put it down to the Premier League spending regulations. My understanding has always been that actually they're sailing a bit close to the line with UEFA as opposed to the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, Villa's a fascinating case study, and I'm really intrigued to see what they do in the last week of the window. Looks like they're going to get in Ordonez from Club Brugge as opposed to Taylor Harwood-Bellis because they can't agree a fee with Southampton. I mentioned Rafael Leao there, talks underway, but they need bodies, don't they? Because that team that Villa sent out at Brighton, I've got to say I had a pretty hefty bet on Brighton when the team sheets came in because it looked like a Carabao Cup team playing a League Two side, with the greatest respect in the world to the players that did play for Villa.
Now, West Ham have got some restless players heading into the window. I mean, Jean-Claire Todibo has been an absolute disaster for me. He cost a lot of money. Tom Rennie's tweets, his increasingly manic tweets, tells you what he thinks. I think he'll drive him to the airport.
Not a fan.
He'll probably drive him to his next club. I mean, they've got some front, these players sometimes, haven't they? Who are the ones who want out?
Well, Todibo is a classic case of not doing your homework because he was offered to Newcastle before he went to West Ham. And it's my understanding that Eddie Howe did a bit of background checking and said absolutely no chance are we bringing Todibo to St James's Park. West Ham did the deal. And you're right, he's been a car crash on and off the pitch. He's, lack of discipline. He's had red cards along the way. And he's basically refusing to play since he was hauled off at Newcastle in West Ham's penultimate game of the season. He fell out with Nuno Espirito Santo, wouldn't play the last game when West Ham were trying to stay in the Premier League and hasn't obviously kicked a ball in the Championship. Similar stories elsewhere as well with Alvarez in midfield. He wants out of the football club. He is also refusing to play. Wan-Bissaka, from what I'm told, didn't cover himself in glory, didn't turn up for the pre-season photo shoot. And I think Juth, wanted by West Ham, is up to similar antics. So there's certainly some bad apples that West Ham need to move on.
Brentford. Sorry, Brentford.
Brentford.
Yeah.
That's
a very quick one on John Ruddy. Still going strong, isn't he?
yes.
Yeah, he's only a few months shy of his 40th birthday, but looks like he's on his way back to Wolverhampton Wanderers. He left Newcastle on a free at the end of last season. They've obviously moved Dan Bentley on to Coventry, so they need a third-choice goalkeeper. And I think they're looking at his character as much as anything. He's probably not going to play as a third choice, but maybe a decent head in the dressing room, someone who might have a coaching career there moving forward. I'm told this one is quite likely to happen.
Good stuff. The original Big Owl asked, would Andy take Emi Martinez? I think you probably would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think you would.
What's going on with him?
It's not as good as he was, of course.
It's gone a bit quiet, though, Crookie, isn't it? What's going on with him at the minute?
Yeah, again, it wouldn't surprise me if he was to move on in the last week. Obviously, they've got Suzuki in there now. Didn't play at the weekend. Marco Bizot got the nod, but Suzuki, I think, is coming to be the number one. Martinez thought he was off to Juventus. His dad was actually telling Argentina fans at the World Cup that move would happen, but they were concerned about a finger injury, so they went for Vicario instead. Chelsea have looked at him before, Ben Roberts, though, the sort of goalkeeping overlord there, does seem to have an awful lot of faith in Robert Sanchez, more than most Chelsea fans.
More than anybody in the universe. Nobody can understand this. Nobody. Ben Roberts, honestly.
The Sanchez family are quite keen.
Seriously, I've heard this before about this, that he considers like his son sort of thing. Oh, it's absolutely ridiculous. He's the only person in Britain that thinks this. Okay. Everybody else thinks he isn't good enough. He's a fine. He's a decent keeper.
You can't say that, Andy.
Well, you can.
You can't say that. Crookie, fantastic. So the notebooks, we can find that at talksport.com. I mean, I'll take it it's going to be a mad final week, isn't it, in the window?
I think it is. There's some massive deals to be done. Bradley Barker to Liverpool. I'm leaning towards that one. Probably will happen now. Between now and 11 o'clock next Tuesday. Enzo Fernandez, as we've mentioned there. Marmoush to Spurs. Potentially Cody Gakpo to Spurs as well. Obviously, other players are going to be leaving Chelsea. Villa have got business to do. Newcastle want reinforcements. Their new manager, Matthias Jaisler, told me that at the weekend. So I think this could be a really busy final week. I'm not planning on sleeping much.
No, I agree.
Good stuff. All right, we'll catch up with you later in the week. Thanks very much, Crookie.
Cheers, guys.
It's Alex Crook, our chief football
it's like
correspondent.
Delap to Forest. I think that would be a good move for him.
Now, if you're wondering why Savino has become Savio, I'll let you know in the next few moments. After we return after the sport. It kind of makes sense. We're going to talk boxing with Paul Smith, former British super middleweight champion. And we got Talma versus Hergovic this weekend and lots more besides. And we're chatting about the great Jonah Lomu as well. New documentary on his life. We'll be chatting to the director.